Hi, everyone. Welcome to Library. We are continuing with A Boy Called Bat. And remember, his name is Bixby Alexander Tam Bat. And we've left off with his sister Janie watching him. And she's not kind. He's not a very nice boy, or she's not a very nice sister to him, sort of. And his mom is late and he's very worried about her. But then she pulls up and she's like, well, I'm late because there's an animal. And that's where we left off. Is it a chapter 4? Well, what kind of animal? Asked Bat. You'll see, Mom answered. She walked around to the back of the station wagon and opened the door. Is it a puppy? Asked Bat. You'll see, Mom answered, taking out a cardboard box with air holes poked into the top. Is it a kitten? Bat asked as he followed her up the front door. You'll see, Mom answered. Is it a duckling? Bat asked as he bounced up and down, hands flapping excitedly. You'll see, Mom answered. Open the door for me, okay? Bat pushed open the front door. Is it a hoglet? Mom laughed. Where would I get a baby hedgehog? I don't know, Bat said. And then he had an awful thought. Is it a baby human? Mom walked into the living room. Janie, still watching the TV, called out, Hey, you're late. I know, Mom said to Janie. And then she said to Bat, Bat, honey, I wouldn't put a baby human in a cardboard box. And anyway, would a baby human be so bad? Yes, said Bat firmly. Well, it's not a baby human, said Mom. Now Janie was interested. She got up to have a closer look. Well, what's in the box? She asked. Mom brought home a baby animal, Bat yelled in a rush, trying to be the one to tell Janie. And that way she'd know that he had known about it first. Geez, Bat, don't scream in my face. 12 inches, remember? Bat was supposed to stay at least 12 inches away from Janie when he talked to her. She didn't like it when he got too close. There were lots of rules when it came to Janie. How did you do on the math test? Mom asked Janie. Did the chart we made help? Bat bounced up and down on the balls of his feet, pulling the collar of his shirt into his mouth and sucking on the fabric. They were going to talk about math test now? Mom, he groaned. Okay, she said. We can talk about the math later. Come on, let's go into the kitchen. There is someone I want you to meet. Chapter 5, A Tiny Pink Nose. Mom set the box on the kitchen table. Is it sleeping? Bat asked, his voice a whisper. Probably, Mom said. Babies sleep most of the time. What is it? Janie asked. Bat, do you want to open the lid? Bat didn't answer. He was too excited. Very carefully, he lifted the lid off the box and peered inside. Janie stood behind him, breathing on his ear. You're breathing on my ear, Bat said. Janie ignored him. It's just a bunch of rags, she said. Mom walked around to the far side of the table and reached into the box. She scooped up the pile of material and sat down. Look. Bat watched as Mom shifted the towel in her arms. A nose peeked out, a tiny pink nose, and then two slanted closed eyes, a forehead covered in brown and downy fuzz, little ears still curled tight against its head. Janie began, It's a kit, Bat said, enchanted by the tiny creature, wanting so badly to hold it. A baby skunk. Oh, Mom, Janie said, I can't believe you brought home a skunk. I had to, Mom said, rubbing the skunk's little forehead with her thumb. He's an orphan. Oh, breathed Janie. She leaned in closer, blocking Bat's view. How old is he? You're in my way, Bat said loudly, and he pushed Janie's arm to make room for himself. Bat, Mom said, you need to stay calm around the skunk kit, okay? You don't want to scare him. Bat did not want to scare the skunk kit. He wanted to hold the skunk kit. Maybe he'd feed and care for the skunk kit, but his sister was standing in his way. Move, Janie, he hissed at her, as quietly as he could hiss. Why don't you both sit down, Mom said. I'll tell you all about him. Janie plopped down into the chair on Mom's right, so Bat went around to her other side and sat in the chair on her left. He scooted the chair so close to Mom as he could, as close to Mom as he could. The kit was still tucked into the towel, only his little face visible. Eyes closed, he opened his mouth in a yawn, his tiny pink tongue arching out. Mom said, "Bat, do you remember when we smelled that skunk on the way to school this morning?" Bat did remember. They had smelled it just after they had pulled off their street, Plum Avenue, and onto Anderson Road. He had smelled it, and Mom had smelled it too. Bat craned his neck, looking out each window carefully. He'd seen lots of people on bicycles. They lived near a college, and the students mostly rode bikes to class. And he had seen cars and some people on foot. It was the beginning of spring, but it was still cold. So he had seen lots of hats and scarves. He'd seen an American flag on a flagpole in front of the post office. He'd seen a red bus. He'd seen a sign that read, "Welcome to Quincy, a bike-friendly town." And he had not seen a skunk. Bat nodded. "I remember," he said. "Well, unfortunately, the skunk we smelled but didn't see was the mama skunk. A car hit her, and a couple of college students brought her to my office in the basket of the bike. She was there waiting for me after I dropped you off at school, injured and very pregnant." "Is she okay?" Janie asked. "Well, I wish I could say she is," Mom answered. "I wasn't able to save the mother or the other baby kids. Only this one lived. I was able to check the mother for diseases, though, and luckily she wasn't sick, which is a good sign the kit isn't sick either." "Well, that's awesome," Bat said. "Bat," said Janie loud and sharp. The kit twitched and shifted, scared by Janie's voice. "How can you say it's awesome? The mom died. The other babies died." But Bat didn't mean that it was awesome that the other skunks had died. Of course that wasn't awesome. He had meant that it was awesome that this kit had lived. But it wasn't worth it to try to explain to Janie what he had meant. She usually misunderstood Bat. Most everyone did. "Can I?" Bat reached out for the kit, wanting so badly to hold him that his fingers twitched. "We can't keep him," Mom warned. "There's a wild animal rescue center that we can give him to in about a month, but they're too busy to take care of him just yet. So we can help him get bigger and stronger before we hand him over to the experts. They will raise him until he's ready to be released into the wild, and when he's about 5 months old." Then she passed the tiny kit wrapped in towels into Bat's arms. The kit was so small that Bat couldn't even tell he was in the towel, except for the tiny face that peeked out. He cradled the bundle in his arms. He felt his face stretch into a wide smile, so wide it made his cheeks sore. Chapter 6. Skunk Lunch. "Can it spray yet?" Janie asked. "No," Mom answered. "Soon he will be able to. But when skunks are babies, they can't spray as strongly as the adults." Bat realized that he didn't know a lot about skunks. He knew they sprayed a stinky smell to protect themselves, and he knew they were mammals. And he knew that they were omnivores because they ate bugs and the small animals and plants too. But he didn't know how much more than that. He decided to learn everything about skunks. "What are we going to feed him?" Bat asked. "Can I do it?" "He's too little to eat yet, so we just need to feed him formula. They don't make skunk formula, so we use puppy formula. It's the closest thing to mother's skunk's milk." Janie stood up. "It's a cute skunk, Mom, but I want to go over to Ezra's house. Okay?" "Okay," said Mom. "Be back in an hour." Ezra lived 3 houses up the block and had been Janie's best friend since before Bat was born. Janie loved Ezra. She thought he was funny and smart and creative. Bat didn't love Ezra. He thought Ezra was loud and annoying and a mean tease. Sometimes when Janie went to play at Ezra's house, it bothered Bat that he wasn't invited, and that there wasn't a house he was invited to visit where Janie didn't go. But right now he didn't care about Ezra, or about anything other than feeding the skunk kit. Goodbye, he said to Janie without taking his eyes off the baby skunk's tiny face. The skunk was yawning and licking his lips with the world's tiniest, pinkest tongue. Janie left. Mom said, "Okay, Bat, sit right here and I'll get the formula." She went to her bag and pulled out a can with a soda can, like a soda can, but with a picture of a puppy on it. Mom shook it and cracked it open and dipped a syringe inside, pulling the plunger up. Bat watched it fill with thick white liquid. "We only give him a few drops at a time," Mom said, carrying the full syringe back over the table. "Watch me do it first." She took the skunk and arranged him on her lap, one hand over his back and under his front legs, to hold him upright, the other hand aiming the syringe full of formula at his mouth. The skunk seemed to know what was about to happen and twitched his little pink nose back and forth eagerly. Mom slowly pushed down on the plunger, and Bat watched a thick white droplet of puppy formula push through the hole at the end of the syringe. The skunk tipped back his chin and opened his mouth, licking eagerly at it. "What a good little baby," Mom crooned, pressing more formula into his mouth. "I want to feed him. Let me feed him. I want to feed him," Bat said. Okay. Mom handed the skunk back to Bat. He tried to hold the skunk the way Mom had and then took the syringe into his other hand. "Very slowly," Mom warned. And finally, it was Bat's turn. As slowly as he could, he pressed down on the plunger, aiming the syringe tip at the baby skunk's mouth. And it worked. The skunk's little pink tongue lapped at the formula. Droplets gathered at the corners of his mouth, and some ran down his chin onto the towel, but most of it made it into the baby skunk. "I'm doing it," Bat whispered. "I'm feeding him." "You sure are," Mom said. Bat knew he was doing a messier job of it than Mom had done, but the baby skunk didn't seem to mind. "I love him," Bat said. He hadn't meant to say it out loud. Mom laughed. "Careful, or you might make me jealous," she said. "Oh, but it's true," Bat said. "I love him." Mom said they'd have to hand the kid over to the rescue center in a month. But Bat, holding the tiny animal in his arms, made a silent promise that he'd figure out a way to keep him. All right, we'll continue next time with Chapter 7, Every Other Fridays. Thank you for reading with me. Have a great week, friends.